Stories shape how we see the world. Voice of Witness is an award-winning oral history nonprofit harnessing the transformative power of storytelling. We work with individuals and communities impacted by injustice, helping them document their lived experiences through oral history, telling their own stories in their own words. In an era of reductive sound bites, we need this kind of nuanced grassroots storytelling to create a more just future. Visit voiceofwitness.org/learn to get involved, check out our workshops, and download tools to support your own project. Join us in building a more connected world, one story at a time.
Hi, I'm Rashmi Sajani, founder of Girls Who Code. Look, I'd consider myself a pretty successful adult woman. I've written books, founded 2 successful nonprofits, and I'm raising 2 incredible kids. But here's the thing. I still wake up wondering, is this it? And if the best years are yet to come, when's that going to start? Join me on My So-Called Midlife, my new podcast with Lemonada Media, where we're building a playbook for navigating midlife, one episode at a time. Each week, I'll chat with extraordinary guests who've transformed their midlife crisis into opportunities for growth and newfound purpose. At some point, we all ask ourselves, is there more to life? I'm here to discover how to thrive in my second act, right alongside you. My So-Called Midlife is out now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Lemonada. Hello, and welcome to Good Things. I'm your host, Gloria Riviera. Today, we're diving into the groundbreaking work being done by Baltimore City Public Schools in literacy education. We'll be joined by Dr. Joan Dabrowski, Chief Academic Officer at BCPS, and Olia Hardy, Principal of William Paca Elementary. We're going to talk about how BCPS is leading the charge in literacy instruction, focusing on knowledge building and intensive professional development. Plus, we'll explore how their approach is about so much more than just sounding out words. We're talking about social equity and empowering diverse learners. That's a lot of good things happening. I'm so excited to bring you this conversation with Joan and Olia. Joan and Olia, thank you so much for joining us on Good Things. It's so good to see you both, and we can just get right into it. This is what I like to call an off-piece question, but one that's close to my heart. Last night, my daughter was writing, she's 9, she's in 4th grade in the public school system here in Washington, D.C., writing about one of her favorite books, and she wrote about The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, which is a very simple book, and we've read it over and over to her, and then as she learned to read, she would read it to us. And it's a book that's close to all of our hearts. So I want to start with that question. Joan and Olia, both of you, what is a book that still resonates with you, a book that you would have read as a young child, and why? Joan, you can start.
Oh, it's a great question. I think about as a small child, there was a book called Are You My Mother? And it was about a little bird trying to find their mother who somehow got lost and sort of got pushed out of the nest and goes through sort of the community and sees different things. And it's a ship, it's a dog, it's the question, are you my mother? And this idea of trying to find home, finding a mom. And that just is one that just always warms my heart. But I also have to signal another one, which was Diary of Anne Frank, much older in my childhood, but still a powerful book of story and humanity, is one that resonates with me, and how a book can open up a world to you that I knew so little about through the story of Anne Frank.
Oh, those are such beautiful books, both of them. And Olia, you growing up in Russia, what were some children's books that resonated with you?
So one of the beloved books that resonates with me deeply, and actually many children in Russia that I remember growing up with, is called The Little Prince. It's by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who's French, which has been really widely popular across the culture of me growing up. It was in every library. So what really captivated my heart in this book is that the mix of whims and depth, like the story theme of friendship, love, responsibility, and the search for meaning make it universally relatable. So it really speaks to both children and adults. I bring up this book in my conversations even now, because while Little Prince was traveling from planet to planet, that been my life, traveling countries and cultures and meeting people from all over the world.
I love The Little Prince. I love it. I read it when I was studying French, and I often return to this sort of idealistic fantasy world in which all adults simply had a breakdown of the lessons that children's literature teaches us all, right? Love, kindness, respect. Sometimes we just need those reminders, don't we?
Absolutely.
I'd like to move to how you both define the word literacy. What does it mean to you, Joan?
So for me, literacy in the broadest sense is the space where we promote thinking, speaking, listening, reading, writing in a space that allows for critical ideas to be considered by humans. When we allow for students to experience that rich literacy, we're providing them with the tools to navigate the world around them, and we're giving them power to access information, make decisions, be in conversations, providing access, giving freedom, but at a very broad sense. It's more than just reading, if you will, because it's that space of thinking and being able to look at text, think about it, hear text from others, and be in conversation. All of that builds what I would say is literacy.
Right. And I love this idea. You said it allows critical ideas to be experienced by humans, right?
Absolutely.
It's everything, right? It's the beginning of everything. Mm-hmm. Let's go a little bit closer into where you both are. And I would love to hear how you feel Baltimore itself and the students, the families that you interact with, what's unique about them?
As much as I see every space where I have had the privilege of working, there's a unique space. There are so many things that are in common. So I almost want to start with, we have a community filled with hardworking families and children coming into our schools who are excited to be learners and wanting to ask questions and learn and be part of community. And so much of that, I think, is true wherever one resides. The space of adults being caregivers and adults bringing their children to schools with trust and confidence that schools are going to support their children and their development. So I think that there's a sameness. There's also, though, some unique spaces. Baltimore is a changing city. We are seeing some of the fastest growing population shifts in our area of multilingual learners. So it's an exciting time to be in Baltimore as demographics are shifting. I think historically, Baltimore has been considered sort of a black and white city, and it is much more a city of black, brown, white, and a level of diversity that is expanding at very fast rates. And I think for us, it's inviting new opportunities to think about language development that is really exciting. So there's, I think, that unique. And if we look across cities in the United States, Baltimore is one of the fastest growing in that space of multilingual learners.
And Olia, I know that you are a multilingual learner and you're helping a lot of students in that same position. I also know that BCPS is outpacing the rest of the state when it comes to success in ELA. So it's so fascinating to me that a spot with so many challenges is rising so quickly in terms of the data that reflects success. What are you doing specifically, Olia, for those multilingual learners to achieve literacy that's enabling them to gain power?
I really love what I do because I am a forever multilingual learner. Today, there's still things that come across that I do not know, and I have to navigate it in conversations. So we have the whole child approach to education of all students, and multilingual learners, like Joanne said, is a very growing population, very fast, that we have welcomed in our school and completely revamped the way of teaching and learning. So our multilingual learners come from different countries. Majority of them are Spanish-speaking countries, and in every grade, because when a family chooses to immigrate to United States, they have children of different ages. When it comes to multilingual learners, what's important is to recognize that to be literate in your language really is aligned to become literate in any other language. That means that our library is infused with a lot of books in different languages. That means that if we are assessing our students in their home language, to see their baseline of knowledge so we can develop a plan. Every student has a developmental plan and a goal for each school year where we would like them to see, not only with perspective of how well are they reading, are they proficient for this grade level, how well are they writing, but it also involves the experiences that we must know to see where they are.
We're going to take a quick break, but we will be right back with more on Good Things.
Interested in the power of first-person storytelling? The Voice of Witness book series documents the oral histories of people directly impacted by and fighting against injustice. Each collection supports historically excluded communities to tell their own stories in their own words. The books feature a diversity of voices, including those of refugees and immigrants, incarcerated people, communities displaced from public housing, farm workers, indigenous peoples, and more. These powerful stories highlight crucial issues and expose the impacts of harmful narratives and policies, laying the groundwork to build solidarity and movements for change. Voice of Witness books are read and used by thousands of educators, organizations, and advocates across the country each year. Visit voiceofwitness.org/read to learn more, access free resources, and get involved. Want more from your favorite Lemonada Media podcasts while supporting the shows that help make life suck less? Subscribe to Lemonada Premium today. As a subscriber, you'll unlock exclusive bonus content like never-before-heard interviews, behind-the-scenes moments, bonus episodes, and so much more. It's easy to sign up no matter what podcast app you use. On Apple, you can just click the Lemonada logo in the Apple Podcast app and hit subscribe. For all other podcast apps, head to lemonada.supportingcast.fm to subscribe. That's lemonada.supportingcast.fm.
I love hearing about how BCPS is meeting multilingual learners where they are in their first language. Joan, is that a change to how things have traditionally been done at BCPS, or how long has that been in place, that approach?
So I think there has always been a commitment to support multilingual learners. I think what Olia is lifting up is because we are seeing more and more of these students coming to us each year, we've had to think in sort of a systems way about how we're ensuring, as Olia is doing in her building, how we're providing these for all of our schools and opportunities to make sure we have English language development support staff and in all of our schools, making sure that we are thinking about assessments in all of our communications with respect to a multilingual learner and their family. So I think while it's been there at a very child level, we are now having to move to systems level work because the sheer volume of students is changing.
Right. I mean, what comes to my mind when I hear you explain that is that BCPS is meeting the community where it is. And there are a lot of exciting things happening. Yeah, you're nodding your head, yes.
Yes.
Olia, can you share with me some of your reflections on what it was like to be a multilingual learner and how that shows up in the classroom for you? Does it ever become personal for you, and where do you hold that as you're doing your job?
It's personal for me every day because I want to create the environment of learning for children at William Paca Elementary that is everything I wish I had when I came here as a student. Because when coming here as a student at a young age was quite challenging, it was not necessarily as well known and developed system of supports in schools and colleges. So for me, it meant to retake some classes over and over to just pass the assessment because you do not have any access to a glossary or any kind of accommodations of extra time. To give you an example and be very vulnerable, speeding it up to me taking the ISLIC test to become a principal. I had to take that test 3 times. Do you know why? Because I kept running out of time. And on the 3rd time, the lady who just takes your ticket and shows you where to go stopped me and said, I see you here a lot. You look like a nice, smart lady. What's going on? I talked to her and she said, well, you have an accent. Have you ever applied for an accommodation? She blew my mind. I didn't know there is an accommodation for extra time for if you're taking this test in other language than your first native tongue. That blew my mind. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, to provide not just our students, but our student families that coming from other countries and establish their new life here in the United States of America, to give them the resources and make sure that they're aware of all of those great things available to them, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So I never asked. So in my school, where the population of multilingual learners is so high, I have 1, and in some grade levels 2, English language development teachers to support general education teachers in the classroom.
I love that idea that you're looking to provide the things you did not have. So my question, Joan, is, I love the way Olia has described the multilingual help kids are getting. And I love also the idea that we can ask for help we may not even know exists. Beyond that, how is BCPS helping students, including economically disadvantaged students, students of color? What does it look like beyond the language?
So I think one of the things that we've done here in Baltimore City is we have thought about providing a rich set of learning opportunities. So sometimes you run the risk in a district that is chasing test scores that you're going to be thinking just about English language arts and mathematics, and you narrow your curriculum. And I think what we're trying to do here in city schools is think about where and how our children can experience fine arts instruction. Where can they experience opportunities to be in a club or to be in sports starting at the younger grades, starting in 4th and 5th and middle school, having robust opportunities for athletics, robotics, things like that allow students to be excited to come to school. Sometimes I think we saw this after the pandemic, the engagement piece was really important. Students wanting to find a reason to feel connected to their school. So I think we've done a tremendous job investing in those types of opportunities, both after school and in our summer. Over the last 3 years, we have grown exponentially in the types of offerings that we have during the summer for our students, from dance and music and robotics, and then certainly intentional work to support that area of literacy and mathematics. So we couple these things together rather than saying it's either or. And I think that's something that all students benefit from, but particularly students who may not have those opportunities outside of school, it is absolutely essential.
And what I'm thinking when I hear you speak is that it's an approach to the whole child, right? It's not just the literacy.
That's right.
Although that is what we're here to talk about today, literacy and readiness. So what steps or changes, initiatives did you see be effective, and how will you build on those going forward?
There's so many different strategies that we're doing now that we didn't do before. I think as the research coming out, a big part of it was the science of reading that came out a couple of years ago, and it was a huge eye-opening to all of us in the educational field. So there's a lot of accolades that goes to our pre-kindergarten team for creating the environment for learning and making sure children have access to necessary tools to be successful. What comes to mind right away is the monthly parent workshops, where we invite all of the parents to the class and they do activities together with the students.
And they come.
Yes, and they all come. And let me tell you something, I don't know what you might hear about Baltimore. Every single parent in pre-kindergarten comes.
Wow. And pre-kindergarten comes as well. That's amazing. That's, to me, wow. That's a big change.
Yeah. So doing those things together. Having bilingual staff, of course, plays a major role. And we have a very large support from, like I mentioned, ELD, the English language development teachers, but we also have positions that are called paraeducators. Those are the bilingual paraeducators, like per se assistants to instruction that speak more than one language. And in my case, majority of multilingual learners are Spanish speaking. So we have a lot of additional supports with multilingual speakers working here at the school. All communication goes out home to all grade levels in all languages, whether it's our flyers, whether it's the robocall, making an announcement. Everything is bilingual all the time.
What I'm hearing is that you're building community outside of the school to work with the school.
Right.
And that must be incredibly appreciated. I know the school's also approached professional development, Joan, in literacy instruction. What does that look like in terms of what exists now versus 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What's new?
Yeah. So one of the benefits that Baltimore City Schools has is that we've had a long-standing chief executive officer. So Dr. Sonia Santelices, who's now in her 9th year here in City Schools, early on when she came in, she put sort of the stake in the ground about focus on literacy. And one of the first things she did was to recognize the importance of professional learning for teachers at the schoolhouse. So having a full-time support, which we call a literacy coach, in a school to really support side-by-side conversations with teachers, helping them plan lessons, giving them feedback on how instruction's going. Early on, she put those positions into play, and we started small. We started with a group of, say, 20, 30 schools, and watched the data to see, was this making a difference? So we certainly do system-wide professional development where all teachers come out and get training and development. We do a special round of support for our newest educators so that they're supported, especially in those early career years. But the intentional work of having these coaches in schools was something that we noticed was having an impact. And as we watched that data, we knew we wanted to expand. And so now we have coaches in all of our schools, which is a phenomenal space to be in. And we bring them out for regular training. They work over the summer to get more. And they really do serve as the expert there at the school, because we know in a large system, central offices can feel very far away. But if you know you have that coach right around the corner on the hall, down the hall that you can ask that question, it is such a powerful opportunity for real-time development for teachers. And we do see the benefits of those investments paying off.
That all sounds incredible. I mean, it sounds incredible to be in my job and know that I have full-time support, as you said, down the hall. That to have that where it did not exist before, I can just imagine how appreciated that is. Okay, sit tight, everyone. We're going to take one more quick break, and we'll be right back with more good things.
Want a sneak preview of hot new audiobooks? Then check out Your Next Listen, a new podcast from Lemonada Media and Simon & Schuster Audio. We've got everything: the hottest new thrillers, best-selling celebrity memoirs, and swoony romances. And these aren't tiny clips either. They're entire chapters you can listen to. Your Next Listen is out November 11th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Emily Deschanel.
And I'm Carla Gallo, and we're excited to tell you about Boneheads, our new Bones rewatch podcast.
I played Dr. Temperance Brennan.
And I played Daisy Wick, and we are going to watch from the very beginning.
We're going to watch the episodes. We're going to reminisce. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We're going to tell behind-the-scenes stories.
We're going to go on tangents.
A lot of tangents.
So whether you're a seasoned Bones fanatic or a newcomer looking to dip your toes in to the wild world of forensic anthropology, this show is for you.
Boneheads from Lemonada Media is out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Joan, I know that you've talked about literacy is not just about coming back into the classroom and saying, oh my gosh, this is what happened in my book. It's about so much more. Can you talk about what more there is to foundational literacy and fluency?
There is. So when we give students these tools to be able to read and understand text, and then make connections in their lives to things that they never knew about or things that they want to know more about. I mean, it just opens doors. And I think when we invest in this work well and see these bright lights going on for children at a systems level, I do believe that we are setting up the world to be a better place, because we are doing what we need to do, which is preparing young people to be in their towns and their cities as productive citizens who contribute and lead. And I think that, to me, is watching that at a first grade or a sixth grade or a 10th grader. That's where literacy is such a powerful vehicle for these opportunities, choices, and ultimately freedoms.
Right. It makes me think of what you said at the beginning of this conversation, which was that critical ideas can be experienced by humans with fluent literacy. And you can do anything if you experience a critical idea, really experience it fully. I want to ask you both, when you think about what has led to success in your own district, in your own school, are there ways in which you think other districts, other schools might similarly benefit? Like, what could work there if it's worked for you? Or is every community so vastly different? Joan, you spoke about how multilingual Baltimore is today. So are there things that you think other people might want to take a look at for their own schools?
I do. I think there certainly are unique contexts always play into decisions we make. However, this piece, I think that strategic ways that your teachers are meeting together regularly, looking at student data and making decisions to how you're going to teach the next day based on what you're seeing in a child's, last data assessment that they had. I think that's something that we should be doing all the time, because the great thing is we get a lot of data now. We have wonderful assessments that give us so much information about where children are and what their needs are. But we need to make sure we have time in place for our teachers to be together, to look at that data and make good decisions based on it. I also think this literacy coach, this having somebody in our schools, is something that will benefit no matter where you are in whatever district you're in. So I do think, for me, it is making sure you've got strong systems at the school level with a passionate leader like with Olia. And then also, again, investing in some of those key positions to make sure teachers are getting that support and development throughout their school year.
Right. And I know a lot of educators will be listening to this episode, but I also know a lot of families will be listening and wondering what they can do. What have you seen be most effective for families?
So we do a great job here in city schools asking our families how things are going for them, what works for them, what's the best way. And a couple things we've learned. They really, really value that parent-teacher conference, the opportunity to sit with their child's teacher and really learn. They want to understand the data. They want to know which assessments. And I think allowing parents to come in as partners is something that we really pride ourselves in Baltimore, and believe that we have to do this work together. So for parents, reaching out and engaging with your child's teacher and asking those questions is something I always say. That is the most important thing you can do early on in the school year is, how can I help at home? What are the things I should? And also, what are the things I shouldn't do when I'm trying to help with homework or not help with homework? I think where we can engage families as partners, that is a winning partnership.
Right. Olia, for you, if there was one thing you could snap your fingers and solve in literacy education overnight, what would it be and why?
Oh, I wish that every single teacher in every school would start their journey with engaging in the professional development and learning about the science of reading. That would be my choice. Because that is a huge eye-opener, and it's a change to how we teach and how we look at pedagogy of development of student learning to make sure that all kids are successful. It's a strategy that seems so simple now, yet took such a long journey to discover.
Right. And as you say that, I think about my own daughter who just started fourth grade. She turned 9 in July. And at the start of third grade, some parents had been talking about reading. And I think they were talking about this latest data, because when I asked her teacher, what is your approach to teaching literacy? The sense was, this is a heated topic. There's a lot of discussion here. I still don't understand it fully because I am not an educator, and we do a lot of reading in our house, and she likes to read. But I just wonder how you have handled that as principal. Has there been a lot of dust to settle after the science of reading data came out?
You know what? Actually, it was very, very successful experience in my school. Baltimore City Schools opened up professional development for teachers around science of reading and literacy coaches and everyone else who was signing up in the summer. I offered to pay stipends to all of my teachers who will be willing to go, and strongly encouraged my literacy coaches and everyone on my immediate team of instructional leadership team to attend, so we can actually engage in professional development and develop the next steps, how we're going to approach literacy moving forward. Now I can tell you that every teacher at my school who is year 2 or more has been trained on science of reading, because that is the prerequisite knowledge that they must have in order to engage in the work that we do here.
So everybody's on the same page, which must be quite a relief. And Joan, do you have any wish list, magical, wave a wand things that you'd like to see happen?
I think I'll echo a little bit of what Olia said, which is I think what we've learned over decades and decades of thinking about reading is that there is complexity to it. And so the adults who are charged with teaching children to read need to know and understand the research, need to be able to make these strategic in the moment decisions. The work is hard and the work takes time. And sometimes I wish we could just move it faster because children only get one chance to be in first grade. And so I want that to be the very best first grade that we can give them. So I think it is the giving that capacity to our teachers to do this work well.
Yeah. Well, even after 30 plus years, Joan, I think you need to stick around a little bit longer. Okay. we need people like you in positions of support and encouragement. And Olia, the same goes for you. So I hope neither one of you are leaving anytime soon. And I want to thank you so much for the work that you do and the children that you teach and the families and communities that you support. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Good Things. This episode is created in partnership with the Schusterman Family Philanthropies. I'm your host, Gloria Riviera. Thank you to Baltimore City Public Schools for making this conversation possible. This series is produced by Lisa Fu and Hannah Boomershine. Our supervising producer is Muna Danish. Mixing and sound design by Noah Smith. Steve Nelson is our SVP of Weekly Content. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax and Jessica Cordova-Kramer. Help others find our show by leaving us a rating and writing a review. Thanks so much for listening.
Are you looking for ways to make your everyday life happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative? I'm Gretchen Rubin, the #1 best-selling author of The Happiness Project, bringing you fresh insights and practical solutions in the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. My co-host and happiness guinea pig is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer in Hollywood. Join us as we explore ideas and hacks about cultivating happiness and good habits.
Check out Happier with Gretchen Rubin from Lemonada Media.
Hi, everyone. Gloria Riviera here, and we are back for another season of No One is Coming to Save Us, a podcast about America's childcare crisis. This season, we're delving deep into 5 critical issues facing our country through the lens of childcare: poverty, mental health, housing, climate change, and the public school system. By exploring these connections, we aim to highlight that childcare is not an isolated issue, but one that influences all facets of American life. Season 4 of No One is Coming to Save Us is out now wherever you get your podcasts.